Welcome to the Orkin Red Zone with your host, Victor Antonio. And today I have Brian. Where's my money? What's my money worth? Brian, welcome to the Red Zone.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Man, I've been looking forward to this conversation because I think I've been harassing you during our regular broadcasts. And I basically, by the way, you guys aren't sensitive on the West Coast, right? Because every time I harass you guys on the West Coast, people are like, why is he always picking on us? So,
No, it just motivates me, pumps me up, you know?
Right. You're incredible. Your numbers are incredible. Before we get into what you do and how you do it, give me a little backstory, pre-Orkin and then how you got to Orkin.
I've been with Orkin almost 12 years now. Before that, we'll back up a little bit more there with my sales career. Started in sales with actually my father. He was a lifetime salesman, region sales manager. So I started doing some home improvement work with him back in like 06, 07. Then the recession hit. There was obviously not a lot of people putting money into their house. Equity was down. So I started learning the residential sales at that point, and got comfortable with that. Then times were tough. Got a job with a small local pest control company, a friend that I went to high school with. So kind of learned, some of the business there. Went over to Terminex for a couple of years, got licensed and everything there, and started selling, doing really well there. And then, the opportunity came up at Orkin, and the rest is history. So that's pretty much my sales background. I mean, I was always kind of a natural salesman. I was always looking to, hustle something, since I was young and make money somehow. So I feel like it was, just natural to get into sales when I got the opportunity.
Yeah. Did you have like a lemonade stand, or what was your first sales job, man? Like you were young. What was your first sales job?
Oh, I mean, doing a paper route, but yeah, that wasn't much of the sales world. That was one of my first jobs. But other than that, just, selling candy to classmates, it was always like, very reluctant to just give things out. Right. So yeah, I would, sell just small stuff like that, candy, things like that. But yeah,
I'm trying to imagine a young B. Worth just cruising around trying to sell some candy. Yeah. What did your father do, by the way, as a salesman? What did he sell?
He mainly worked with a lot of cities selling water meters. So I know he was in that business for a long time. So selling to municipalities, big accounts for, water meters for residential, commercial. So yeah, he was doing that for a long time and worked his way up in the companies to, region management and sales management.
When you say that you started doing home improvement, I'll say 2007, 2008, when everything started going to hell in the handbasket. Yeah. What was that about? How did you get into that? And there's a reason I'm asking this, because I think a lot of people who are very good at selling the Orkin products, have some DIY experience, at home. So talk about what that was and how that plays into your sales.
Yeah. So, my father's friend manufactured a thin paver out of Florida, the concrete paver. So he was bringing it out to Florida and, to California. And my dad, was out of a job at the time. So he invested in that. He got started with doing that. And I was kind of in between, jobs at the time and young. So I started, working with him and traveling up to Sacramento. And, so yeah, got started doing that. We started putting out marketing. I started going out with my dad doing residential sales, and so, it was only natural when I got licensed and went over to a termite company that, I was doing residential sales. I was comfortable with that, comfortable pitching, high dollar amounts to customers, homeowners, and so pretty much the rest is history from there. So.
What was one big takeaway from your father, from a sales standpoint, that you may have picked up that kind of you still use today, out of curiosity?
I mean, he always said, hard work is gonna trump all, really. You're someone that could be a good salesperson, and now I see this being in the business. You see people that are really good salespeople, but really for me, it was because when I started doing sales, I didn't feel like I was that comfortable with it or natural with it. It took a while for, years for me to really start to get comfortable with it. But, it was just hard work. I was always going to do my best as far as, whatever I'm doing, like now doing a good inspection, doing, following up with the customer and, trying to be the one, person that, I've set myself apart from the competition. But back to your question, I know you mentioned DIY. So when I started with the first termite company, I was doing some wood repair. So that's how I got real in tune with selling the ancillary services that we sell out for Orkin in California with the wood repair. But I'm far from a do-it-yourself kind of person. Definitely not handy. So
okay,
I was happy to stop doing it and actually selling it. So.
All right. I love, by the way, your phrase, your father's advice about working hard reminds me about, what's that phrase? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Yeah. I was trying to think of that because I took a screenshot of that. I saw that the other day where, it was something along those lines where hard work beats good talent any day. So,
right.
Yeah,
what's your educational background? Can I ask?
High school degree, went to junior college, did many years there part-time and working part and full-time. And then, when that opportunity presented itself working with my father, I kind of just went and started doing that and kind of dropped out of college at that point. So, yeah.
No.
So a little bit of junior college, almost finished it, but that's the extent of it.
I wanted to ask that question because I sense maybe you didn't finish college based on a couple of things you said about working. And it really highlights the fact that, some people always think that you have to have a degree to be successful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I've always, even I have a degree, but I don't believe that, 1 + 1 = 2. You still have to work hard. And so I want other people to hear that because it's all about, as you say, the hard work. Mm-hmm. And so now you get into the pest control business. Let's get into the nitty gritty of this thing. You get into the pest control, this first gig, why did it was a job offer? Obviously, you got to make some money. What was your first, reaction to being in the pest control business? I'm asking you this question I'm wanting you to answer it from there's people listening or watching this who are just starting out. Uh-huh. And I want you to kind of give them, how you started and maybe some of the challenges you faced and how you overcame those challenges.
Yeah, it was definitely not a dream of mine to be in the pest control business. Like I said, I kind of just stumbled on it because I was desperate at the time, and my friend had a job for me at the time. So, but as I got to doing it and started looking at other opportunities, and like I said, went to bigger company and got licensed, started making money there. But it's definitely, I didn't think it would be this lucrative of a business. I didn't think I would have this much opportunity to, do what I do today and, support my family and live a good life. So, yeah, I mean, working for, cause like I said, worked for a couple different companies. I know definitely working for Orkin, it was a big culture shock when I came over, and I was very, in a good way, of course, because just the way that they treated employees and took care of their people first, and so I brought over many coworkers that I worked with at the other company, got my brother in the business, so yeah, I mean when you work for a good company, you that obviously, and you're gonna praise them and refer people that want jobs, but yeah. Definitely wasn't something I dreamed of being in the pest control business at all.
I don't think anybody does, right? It's like, when I graduate, I want to be in pest control. I doubt if
maybe like the entomologists, right? You have people that just love bugs, those are probably the only ones.
Maybe. But there, so I still want to stick with I'm going to push you further on this one because I know there's gold here. I just got to get it out of you. Uh-huh. So this first pest control job, I want you to go back in time a little bit and just give me some of the struggles and, the stuff that you had to learn, and then how did you acquire new business? I mean, you're just getting going. It's a smaller company, which means you had to be more self-sufficient when it came to probably generating leads. Take me back there. I want you to take me back to that first pest control gig with your friend.
Yeah. So with that, it was very limited opportunity. They had their family that had, their clientele. So it was really just nitty gritty work that I was doing, doing, wood repair, painting, trying to make ends meet. You talk about, it was definitely a struggle for my wife and I back then. We both were working full time, just barely paying the bills. So, I knew there was no opportunity within that company. So that's why I started looking, further for other companies. And yeah, once I started working for Terminex, I, started to see the opportunity and, always put it out there to family and friends and try to start there with getting, a customer base, referral base from there. And then, just try to, really stick with internal customers and try to deal with internal customers. And that's really something I do a lot today at Orkin is try to stick with the customers that trust us, that obviously are doing the least amount of shopping, try to build the trust with them.
Yeah. And we're going to get to Orkin in a bit. We're going to get to Orkin. I'm still digging here. Okay. So take me to Terminex then, because Terminex would be a comparable, move from, to Orkin.
Yes.
So you're starting out at Terminex. Like, what were some of the things you said, I need to do this in order to, like, one, keep my job, two, make money, and then grow? Like, what were some of the day-to-day things you did, at Terminex? We'll talk about Orkin in just a bit.
Yeah.
But I want to know what you started out doing. Again, a lot of people are listening to this or watching this. They're going, I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. So take me back to those Terminex days when you first started, some of the struggles.
Yeah. So really, there's always going to be the bread and butter. There's always going to be the termite treatments to sell. So, that was always a thing. But from having my prior experience on knowing how to do wood repair when I went over to Terminex, that was a big thing, being confident in that, because a lot of the guys, pretty much all of them that I worked with, did not sell any ancillary services. So whatever that was, insulation, repairs, any ancillary services, they had no confidence in it. They thought the price was too high or, whatever. So I just started, finding all the problems on customers' homes and presenting them with the solution and not being scared of the price at all, and that was really the key to my success over there and becoming, one of the top sales guys there was that just, proposing everything and not being afraid to do that.
I love that. I love that. How did you, when you're first joining, this industry, there's so many aspects of this business, right? It's just not, roaches, termites, right? It's more than that. And so walk me through how you, I guess, escalated or sped up your knowledge level. What do you do when you had to learn? If you can go back a little bit, Victor, I had to learn all these things, and then I got to go in there and talk to the customer. So I got all this stuff rolling in my head. What were some of the, some coping mechanisms that you used to kind of learn content and be able to present?
Obviously, with the companies, there was always a lot of training on that. So I just always went in with an open mind on all that, on any training to, learn as much as I can about something that I wasn't comfortable with presenting or selling. But, just experience, just being out in the field and doing those inspections and listening to customers and getting that feedback from them on, maybe why they didn't buy from you, why they had some setback on, doing one service or another. So just really learning from that. But, obviously with that experience comes knowledge of, the services we offer, the products we offer. And I think just being more comfortable with all of that, it just really kept boosting my confidence more and more. And, so when obviously confidence is a big thing when you're going into that customer's house and, you're not confident in the product you're selling or the service or the price, they're going to see that. And so, being confident in all that. And again, coming from Terminex to Orkin, price was even more of a thing. But I saw the customer base, I saw the loyalty, the trust that people had and how much they loved the company because of what, good people we had and what good services we did. So yeah, it was just, Again, just experience, I think, really helped, doing it over and over. And then the things that I wasn't good at, and I'm still doing it to this day, I mean, there's certain things where I'm like, geez, what could I have done better to really, convince them this is something that's going to benefit them that they need.
Give me an example of that, because I want people to look, everybody sees you and they see your stellar numbers and you think you're like, bulletproof, right? And I guess I want people to see that, look, even I'm still trying to figure this out. Can you give me an example of something that you're still trying to figure out, or maybe it didn't go your way, you go, I got to figure this out?
Yeah, definitely. So, we're pitching obviously multiple bundles, again, there's always the treatments, there's always the repairs, those are, treatment's always going to be something they're going to prioritize. Repairs usually secondary, at least for the services we offer here in California. But insulation has been a big thing that I've continually tried to improve on, because even like I said, even today, it's a struggle sometimes to get those insulation sales. And so it's really just educating myself more on the product, talking to coworkers, getting feedback from them, and trying to figure out how to present it better, how to make it more, attractive to the customer. So, I definitely would say insulation, and there's some other, preventative services, things like that I know I could still hone in on and try to improve to improve my numbers. Cause when I started at Orkin and was starting to make, President's Club, it was like, and back then, selling whatever, 500,000 a year, it was like, oh, I mean, work my butt off. There's no way I can sell more, right? I mean, that was the mind state that I had until I started to go year to year and see the numbers keep increasing. So yeah, I mean, there's always room for improvement, though, for sure.
Yeah. Walk me through your, you're going to visit a customer at the home or something, walk me through the Brian Worth process or something. Like, what are some of the things you do that you think differentiates you from other people who maybe are not performing as well?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm pretty boring, I want to say, really, when I try to keep it as professional as I can with them. I know everyone's got their different personalities. Some people, they're trying to build that rapport from the get-go. But for me, I'm trying to keep it professional, trying to find out what their problem is first. Show me the problem. Let's look at that. And then, obviously not get into talking about solutions right away. Oh, let me, take a look at the whole house for you and make sure there's nothing else going on, kind of reassure them that, that's the hope, and that I'll, do a full complete inspection for them and let them know if there's any other issues. And, obviously 9 out of 10 times they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's great. Let's do that. So yeah. And then obviously as I'm going along and, walking with the customer, whether it's outside or inside, sometimes they want to stay inside. So I got to wait till I go in to build that rapport, but, that's something I, always go back and forth. Should I start on the outside and then talk to them, or should I do all the inside first so I can kind of talk with them and build some rapport, then do the outside? So, it just really depends on the customer. And, I've learned that over the years. Obviously everyone's got different personalities. You learn the personality type of that person and what they want. They want you, hey, just give me the price. Let's go. I need, I got a Zoom call I got to get on in 45 minutes, or someone that wants all those details and
right.
appreciates that. So yeah, you really got to read the customer, but that's something that develops over time, right? That's just part of the experience. I like the fact that there is no set process for you whether you got to go start on the outside or inside. Yeah, well,
because it really
honestly, there really is none. But usually I'll start with finding the problem area, doing the at least the attic first, and then doing the outside and getting to talk to them a little bit. But yeah, again, there really is no set thing that I do every time, because every situation is different.
So I want to ask you because you said something earlier about price, and Orkin is not the cheapest, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just because we don't, again, it's not about price; it's about value. And so, walk me through your mindset. Hopefully, this will help the new folks or people who are struggling. Is that as you're doing the walk around, you mentioned, hey, there's other things like insulation that I see that they'll need, and in many cases, in some cases, I should say, not generalize too much, the person will be able to will kind of hesitate in presenting it Because once you add, for example, some other services that they didn't expect, they're going to, they're hesitant. Like, I don't want to include that because I might blow the deal.
Yes.
Walk me through, like, just your mindset when you're going through this and you discover that there's probably more here, but it's going to be more than what the customer expected, and maybe how you frame some of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's, what some of my management used to call the pain point. It was like, what was your pain point? Was it, pitching $5,000 to a customer, $20,000 to a customer? And so I try to improve that pain point, year to year with my goals, and try to, not let the price, not let that get in the way. But again, you gotta read the customer on those kind of things a lot of times. But regardless of who the customer is, I'm always going to put everything on the table. Everything that they need, and then if I start to get some pushback, we can get into talking about payment plans. We can get into talking about, well, hold on, let's if I'm losing them a little bit, let's prioritize what you need here. Let's start with the treatment and then the repairs. And then, so I can usually get them at least 2 or 3 of the services, and not all the time on 3 or 4 of the services that I'm pitching, but you put it's in their head the first time you see it, they see all those numbers. So when you go do the re-eye the following year, or they call you in 3 months saying, hey, we talked about that insulation. I really want to, get that taken care of, and so it's in their head from then. At that point. And a lot of people are afraid to pitch that all up front because they think they're going to scare them with the price because that other company's $2,000 and we're $20,000. Well, most customers are going to see that value. They're going to see why you were $20,000 and all the issues that you found and that we offer, versus that company just offering one solution for only that one problem. So.
Yeah, I love the fact that, you're sowing the seeds, right? You're mentioning things that even if they don't go with it, it's there. It's like a hobgoblin in the mind, right? It's not going to go away because Brian just mentioned this, so I can't just ignore it.
Yeah.
I just had this happen. We just took our car in, and I always take it to this guy. His name is James, and James has a way of always saying, "All right, Victor, here are the things I found." You're like, "Oh crap, it's a lot," right? And he goes, "But wait a minute. Certain things you need to take care of today. Certain things can wait. I just want to make you aware of that."
Yeah,
and I just think it's a great strategy. Can you speak a little more to that strategy?
Yeah. So, they called us out for a reason most of the time, right? Unless it's, me cold calling a customer, getting out in front of them that way. So they know those termites are there. They know they need to take care of that issue. So, that's going to be the thing that they're going to focus on. So, separating the services and showing them, these are the separate services that we have. That way you can kind of peel back the onion a little bit and figure out, if they give you that pushback on that stuff, you always have it there. It's always going to be there, for them, but, you can hone in more on the other services. So, that's why I feel it's better to pitch them all the services, because when you say $20,000 and then they're like, well, let's just do the 10,000 for now, it's a tougher pill to swallow for them, versus if you're just going in with the 2,000 and that's it, you really got nowhere to go at that point. There's no,
I hear you.
Yeah.
Would you agree with this statement and add your flavor to it? Is that it seems to me that the best salespeople seem to care more about the customer's house than they do, almost, if not at the same level. In other words, when you go in there, you're almost like, I don't want to say you're taking ownership of it, but you're going to mention things because you care about the customer's biggest asset. What would you add to that in terms of how your mindset works with regard to that?
Yeah, no, that's a crucial thing to what we do is, treating that house like yours, showing them all the issues, letting them know what you would do to your house, which a lot of customers ask that question. Well, Brian, what would you do? Well, I would really tent my house with this amount of infestation, with, how old the house is, whatever the case may be. You can, hone in and talk to them about that issue. But, all the other stuff, all the ancillary services, it's always going to be a need, but there's always, everyone's got a budget. So, I can try to get everything closed, talk to them about payment plans, talk to them about, our 90-day same as cash, and try to get it all done. and, let them know, create some urgency with it as well. We always got to create some urgency, because if they're going to wait a year, 2 years for the installation, how much money are they losing with energy? And the price is going to go up. We know that, right? So,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just letting them know that. And then hopefully that'll create, even if they don't do that service, it'll create a little urgency for them to get it done sooner than later.
Yes, I agree. I think I love what you're saying about the urgency piece. And I'm repeating this because I want people to get the urgency piece is big, but always put everything on the table as well and let them decide. Don't decide for them. And I want you to, if let's say Victor joined Orkin tomorrow, right? And they say, all right, man, you're going to train under B. Worth, right? And so I'm your new guy, right?
Uh-huh.
Which would be interesting. You probably make me a better salesperson. and so if you had to tell me, okay, Victor, I need you to do this every day. I need you to do these, I'll just say 5 things. So I'm putting you on the spot here. I need you to do these 5 things every day, and I need you to do that for the next 90 days. And if you do that, Victor, you stand a good chance of taking off, so to speak.
You said what? 6 things?
Train me, Brian.
Yeah,
so 5 things I need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I get new hires that ride with me, and I still have to do my job. I'm not a sales trainer. It's just something we do to help out our teammates that are, in our region or in our branch, wherever it may be. And I mean, the number one thing I always tell them, and it's easier said than done. It takes some time to get comfortable with our services and how to present it and propose it to customers. But I always let them know, and I always hear this, well, sales isn't a numbers game, it's a skills game. And then I disagree with that. I feel like it's both, right? It's a numbers game, right?
Right.
The more numbers you're presenting, the more chances you have at closing. And then,
well, the better your skills get, right?
Yeah, exactly. Then your skills get better, and you're able to close that. So that's why I always tell them. I said it's a numbers game, really, because when I would propose, $300,000 a month, maybe I'd close 50, 60, maybe have $100,000 a month here and there. Then I started pushing those numbers, pushing the installation or other ancillary services to, 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 a month in exposure. And then, I got to the consistent numbers that I'm doing to today. And then it's not, obviously my skills have gotten better, but that's, I'm not a high pressure seller. I don't close a lot of business on the spot, because again, I'm not pitching them $1,000, $2,000 that they can just go, okay, let's do it. It's, they're big numbers. So, I take pride on, building that relationship with the customer, following up with them, especially, when they're getting multiple bids, you want to get back to them in a day, 2 days, maybe 3 at the most. And hey, where are we at? How's everything looking? And then you start getting feedback from them, and they appreciate, you're the only company that's called me back. I mean, I couldn't even get this other company. They already showed me, so you're like, okay, this is going good, right? So far. So that's what I always try to tell new hires is really just is pitching as much as possible and follow up as much as you can. And,
Okay. So let's go through it. Because like I say, I just want to make sure I got my training right before I go out there. Right. And so I like the number at bats, because I think that's the more at bats you get, the more presentations, inspections you're doing, presentations, right? The better your skill set gets. So I would I'm with you on tying those two things together.
Yeah.
You also talked about, again, you're not a high pressure sales guy. So you're really just killing that stereotype that you have to be a high pressure salesperson. Number 3 is obviously the follow up, and probably speed to follow up or speed to, return their phone call. I wanted to ask you, in terms of role play, how did that work into your training and your skill set?
Yeah. We used to do that. We'd go into the branch weekly, sometimes 2-3 times a week, but role playing was really a big thing, especially with your coworkers that are doing the same thing you're doing. Doing it with a family member or management or something like that is definitely different. But when you're doing it with someone that's experiencing and dealing with the same stuff you're dealing with every day, same situations, it definitely helps. But I feel like with role playing, it's sometimes I role play in my own head, of, closing a customer.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. How you're going to, talk about the service when I'm out in the car, putting all the numbers together, kind of playing it out, like how I'm going to present it. And,
Yeah.
The wheels are just spinning, trying to, come up with the best approach. Cause again, like I said, every situation is different, I mean, and if you go into every situation the same, you're going to miss out on some of those that, again, they want that information quick, fast, they don't want to wait too long, and they got things going on. So you just have to, figure out who you're dealing with. But yeah, the training piece, when I tell guys that's the biggest thing, is just telling them to go out there and pitch everything. Obviously, I like to get them riding with me when they've already learned all the basics and the biology. Sometimes I get new hires coming with me that, I got to teach them where to step in an attic. So I'm like, I'm not the guy for that. I mean, put them with me when we get to the sales training part, and that's ideal too. That way I can, help them hone in on their skills to be confident out there.
That's a great tip, by the way. That's a great tip, right? That, you got to learn the basics first, because, you're not a trainer. You're there to help show here's how we do the inspection. Here's how we talk to the customer, or prepare the proposal and talk to the customer.
Correct.
And those things. By the way, you made me laugh because I walk around the house sometimes when I'm rehearsing something, and I'm just talking to myself. Like I'm just, and I do a lot of gestures. My wife, she ignores me now, but because she knows what's happening. But at first she was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm practicing." So I do the whole thing, like you do. I want to get to Orkin now. Again, you've been very successful at Orkin. Talk to me about the transition from like Terminix to Orkin. What were some of the differences that you saw that says, okay, this might be a good deal here?
Yeah, there was a lot. It was night and day, honestly, when I came over to Orkin, just from the beginning, interview process and the people that I was interviewing with, management at the time, and then once I took the job, just again, I mentioned earlier, just the culture. It was very different. Orkin was a very service-based company, and sales were kind of secondary. They want to make sure we do the best service and take care of the customers first. Where Terminix was opposite. It was very, very cutthroat, very salesy, and that's what they lived by. And, so a lot more upset customers, right? That's kind of what it amounted to. But, coming over to Orkin was, the best thing that I ever did. It gave me so many opportunities. When I started at, Orkin, it was a struggle for sure. I didn't just jump right in and do well right away. I had to learn the Orkin way and learn, how to deal with objections on pricing. And, because it was definitely much higher pricing than what I was used to. But, I also saw, a big difference in the quality of services that we did. It was, there was always accountability if things were missed, and we're going to come out and fix it. There was always a matrix and a standard of the services that we did, where, I didn't see much of that before with either termite company. Was kind of just, you hope that guy's doing the right thing. He's the last line of defense. Hopefully that technician's, actually putting some product down, and, but it's, it was very, you shocked in a good way, right? That, with, the way Orkin operated, it was good to see. And to this day, it's the same, there's always that accountability from the top, and putting everybody, really in the right position to succeed.
If we could sum that up, it's a different best practices. You probably had to learn and get used to like a different way of doing business. What did you find about the support structure? You just got in here, you're just into Orkin. You said you're struggling a little bit. Can you give me an instance of where you needed support and you got it?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you touched on that. That's a good point. The support was unlike I had ever seen, and that, I think that's why there was I saw the customers, the loyalty, the trust that they had, because Orkin provided that service. So, when I started, just the CSS, the office manager in my branch, and the management, calling customers after a job's done, welcome to Orkin, trying to alleviate any concerns they have. Just seeing that, the phone would ring. My phone would ring a lot less with issues that customers had or questions, because they already took care of that all the next morning after the job was done, to, alleviate any concerns that the customer had. So, yeah, the support was amazing, and still is to this day. I mean, there's obviously always a lot of changes, and back when I started, we were a termite region, so now we're pest and termite, so a lot of changes, but the support still always is there, and yeah, I mean, we wouldn't survive without that. But at the same part of that is we still do have to run it. For me to hit the numbers that I do and sell what I sell, I got to treat it like my own business. You can't always depend on someone else to take care of a situation. You got to expect to do it, and then if you do get the help on something, then that's a plus.
Damn, I love that. See, I think that is like the ultimate mindset of a salesperson. You treat it like it was your business, like your own profit and loss center.
Yeah, you really have to.
Yeah. I love that. I got to ask you this question because I'll forget. And I don't mean to put you on a spot, but I'm going to put you on a spot. Is there like a manager? It doesn't have to be a manager. It could be anybody. Technician, it could be anybody. Is there somebody? Everybody looks up to Brian Worth, right? Everybody looks up to you. They look at you. They go, Is there somebody that either you used to look up to because they don't work at Orkin anymore, or still do look up to? Is there somebody that you look up to? And can you tell me who? You don't have to mention who the person is. I'd appreciate it if you would, but why? People want to know who you admire.
Yeah, so
I do too.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the culture, and a big part of that when I got hired was the region manager at the time, Louis Warman, and he just passed away back in July. So I was very sad to hear that. But just the way that he, because from what I was used to before, it was very, there just wasn't a lot of, not a good culture. They didn't treat employees good. And it was like, oh, you don't like it here, there's the door. So coming over to Orkin, he was, the one that set the precedence for that. He was always in the branch. What do you need? Is everything okay, Brian? Please call me if you need anything. I mean, just, that.
Is there something he did? Is there something he did specifically? Like, do you remember? I said, Victor, I'm at home, I get a call, middle of the night. He didn't have to call me. Is there something that he did that you said, oh, that's cool?
Well, it was just that. It was that continual. I mean, he was continually doing that. And then, after a few years, he wasn't my region manager, but I would always hear from him. He'd always be sending me emails. He'd know my numbers. Oh my gosh, you had an amazing month. Keep up the good work. Just positive stuff like that, really, getting that recognition was, it makes you feel good and it makes you feel appreciated. And he was, he was definitely the first one to set that up. And then, another branch manager that I had a lot of branch managers, but had one for 5 or 6 years, Brian Bergeron. I know you know him, and he's always in the library there. He was a big part of my success as well. He was my branch manager for 5 years, and he made that branch run so well and set us up for success in every way possible. And so I'm forever grateful for those gentlemen, as well as Mike McKenzie, who was the region manager at the time under Louis. Always took that care as well, and always found ways to help me improve, even when I didn't think I could, whether it was talking about, rack financing and bundling and ancillary services, so those gentlemen definitely.
Yeah, I always think there's like we'll call this one the Louis effect in his honor. And that is like, when you have a great manager, then you hire people who become like that person. It just ripples out. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
As we close this out, Brad, I just want to ask you, it's great to make money, right? Put that to the side for a second. But what has Orkin like done for you, man? Like, how has it changed, your life, pre-Orkin today, just riff on that if you can.
No, I'm glad you asked that. That's, it was definitely a life-changing thing that I did coming to Orkin because, as I mentioned earlier, my wife and I, we struggled. I had my stepkids that we were raising. I raised them since they were young, and we didn't have college degrees. We didn't have great paying jobs. We did everything we could to give them the best life that we could. And So yeah, coming to Orkin and having the opportunities that I have, going on these company trips, President's Club, REC trip, that, we're going on next week. My wife really looks up to, she really looks forward to that. And, we're able to, obviously, I'm able to, support my family, my 4 kids. And, now I have a grandson, and, my wife can stay home, take care of the house, take care of the kids. That's something I always dreamed of, and, didn't think it would happen, so quickly as it did at Orkin, and, early in my career. So, it's, Orkin's done a lot for me, and everyone, why don't you start your own business, and it's, I'm happy where I'm at. The company takes good care of me, and I'm definitely grateful for working at Orkin.
I heard that. I always, it's funny because I don't work for a company, but I always tell people, if you work for a company, it's a great company, right? I mean, in all aspects, like, the situation, the culture, why mess with it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're enjoying it, just don't mess with it.
If you're getting treated well, why you're not thinking about leaving, so.
No, it's a different animal. And, like I said, I've been around you guys now, working about 10 years now. And so I get to see the managers, so to speak, behind the scenes, like the execs, and talk to them. And they're what I call the WYSIWYG. They're what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
And they're genuine people, which is what I love about the company. Brian, you're going to get the last word on this. What would you say to somebody who is maybe not hitting the numbers they want to hit? And, I'll give you, 30 seconds to a minute. What you can take as long as you want, just to inspire them with some words of encouragement. Go, Brian Worth.
Really, we talked about it earlier. It's, you got to get to that point where you're confident, but there's a lot of work you got to do to get up to that, right? You got to believe in the brand. You have to present all of our services to every customer in every situation, and not pre-qualify and think that this person's only going to buy this and not this. Cause I can't tell you how many times I've, gone up to a little shack in the middle of nowhere and sold them, $5,000, $10,000 worth of service. I mean, it's back to the hard work. That's the biggest thing, is you put in the hard work, you're going to succeed. I brought, my brother over years ago, and he had no sales experience, and he was worried about that, but I knew what a, good communicator, good person he was, and how he would be able to, he's a quick learner, that he would learn it quick. And I said, don't worry about the sales part. That's the last 5-10%. You got to figure all the rest of it out, then worry about the sales. Then the sales will keep coming after that. So, just, as they say, trust the process, put in the hard work, and, the rest, the money will follow. The success will follow.
I want to add one more. Sorry. I know I hate doing this, but it's because you triggered me. And, in terms of asking for help, along the same lines of, your advice, what do you say to people who are struggling? And then your experience of asking other folks at Orkin for help, kind of give me your experience on that, and we'll close out on that.
Yeah. I mean, I always, I'm training new guys, and I'm always, letting them know I'm available. I can't always answer their calls, but I'll call them back. If it's after the inspection in a half hour, I'm going to call them back and try to help them out. Cause I know how that was when I started, and what a struggle it can be to figure things out, you're just, going to figure things out on the fly. So, I always try to be there for my teammates and help them out where I can. And then, so the second part of your question, say that again.
Oh, it was just about asking for help, like not being afraid to ask for help when you're struggling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, we have, I talked to a lot of guys going on these company trips and got to know them real well. A lot of the most successful, sales guys for Orkin and other companies for, Rollins. And, we've established, group texts and chats that we have where, we educate each other. We help each other. Hey, I ran across this situation. What would you guys do? This is how I approach it, So yeah, there's guys that are, very helpful with that. And they're always willing to help if we come across a situation like that, so.
I love it. Brian, it was a pleasure to finally talk to you after seeing your numbers all the time, jacked up, representing the West Coast. Yeah. Okay. So congratulations, man. Continued success. And that is it for this episode of The Red Zone. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Victor.